Hey guys, and welcome back to another F1 22 video. Big thanks to EA and Codemasters for giving me this opportunity yet again to release early game footage. Today we're going to be driving the Williams. We all know it's the fastest car, and driving as the GOAT himself, Nicholas Latifi. Of course, it's going to be 110% AI, 50% race around Imola. Imola is not a great circuit compared to some others for overtaking, so we'll see how we go. We obviously don't need to qualify because the Williams is just that fast. And we'll be starting from the back of the grid, just so that we give the other drivers a chance of winning. But in all reality, we're going to have to do something different to all the other AI. So we're going to start on the soft tire. And so we're going to have to do something funky with the setup. I'm just going to try and make it as quick as possible with what I know. Obviously, it's still very experimental being this early days into the game. And of course, everything's going to change still. There's still bits of the handling model that haven't been added to the game yet, as Dave Greco said. There's still a patch yet to come to the game where the power being delivered to the rear wheels is going to be softened by the transmission. And that currently isn't in the preview build that we have right now. There's also more data points for the way the tire load is calculated, which means they're just able to simulate the way the tires interact a whole lot better. Another thing to know, in previous experience with wet weather driving, last year's game I felt the wheel weight would drop a fair amount, but in this year's game the wheel weight actually increases, so I think there's more feedback being given through the steering wheel when the wet weather hits. And I'm pretty sure that's because when you switch to the intermediate tires, the tire temperatures increase and the grip also improves. And I think the more temperature you have, the more grip you have, and also the more force feedback you get. We're starting on soft tires. We really need to make an impact early on in this race if we're going to have any chance of getting near the front. Obviously, the goal is to come first. I have no idea if that's even going to be possible in this Williams. We failed the grid formation as well. We stopped too early, but we've got 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and away we go. We've got to make an impact as early on with these soft tires, and we've gotten off to a good start. We've already overtaken Stroll and Zhou. Albon's up next. We're trying to go around the outside, it looks like, but he's actually going to try and cover that off, but then he realizes, hey, we're alongside him. And then the Alfa Romeo dives back up the inside of us. Everyone's going pretty slow. That's a Red Bull. Perez has spun off. I don't know if he's been spun around by another car there. And when you're going to notice with these AI, especially on a narrow track, is they are so aggressive. It's very hard to overtake because people are trying to overtake you at the exact same time you go for a move. So rather than diving up the inside of Albon, I'm just pretty much trying to cover off Stroll from diving up the inside of us. And it doesn't work out there trying to make the move on Albon anyway. The AI gets such a great exit coming up this hill out of that hairpin. And looks like we've got some carnage up ahead. Yellow flags. There's cars everywhere. There's 3 abreast into a double right-hander apex here. It's going to get very tight. Ricciardo's been spun off into a wall on the inside there. Stroll's trying to go around the outside. Looks like he managed to just squeeze through because we got a legal overtake, and we're going to have to give that back. Very frustrating. We're going to go straight back up the inside, hang it around the outside of this chicane, and we get that position back. With this year's car, if you try to attack that curb too much, the car will bottom out and you'll spin instantly. There's not much you can do about it. So you have to avoid that curb, hit it at the right place at the right time, because it is pretty dangerous this year. Albon's up next in the Williams, our teammate. And we've got, looks like, a couple of people coming into the pit lane. I think they've got some front wing damage because there was a lot of carnage going into turns 1 and to turn 2. But it does look like we have survived lap 1. We're up into P14 a bit artificially because of those people making that pit stop. Zhou and Albon coming together, and it looks like the Alfa Romeo is going to come off second best. We were very lucky to not make contact with Zhou spinning around there. Albon kind of doing us a favor, I guess. Verstappen going slowly there. I'm not sure what's happened to him. I think he might have been spun because he is still going in this race. Not a mechanical failure. It looks like we're up into P12 because of all these incidents going on around us. And we're going to be trying to pick up as many free positions as possible because this is not an easy race in the Williams. The car, it just doesn't feel as balanced as some of the other cars, such as the Ferrari or Red Bull, and definitely not as quick in a straight line due to compensating with extra aero on the front wing and rear wing. Albon and Tsunoda now looks like they're fighting it out in front of us. It's holding us up a bit, and we've actually ran wide there. Just a mistake on my behalf, and Perez really does not need a second invitation, so he tries to send it up the inside though. We got it covered. Not really an optimal place to make an overtake there, but we just get a poor exit not long after, and Perez just soars past us in that Red Bull. Has just superior performance, not a whole lot more we can do. Our tires are starting to go off. It's only lap 6, but as you can see, we're already on 51% tire wear. Perez getting in amongst it with Albon and Tsunoda, and it looks like Albon's made a mistake. Another free position for us, but because Perez overtook us earlier, it means we're only back up to P12 instead of P11. And yeah, tires are really starting to go off now. We need to hope for a safety car, or at least a virtual safety car, so we have a cheaper pit stop. And it looks like, I think that's Alpine on the map going slowly. It might be Alonso or Ocon. And yeah, you can see that Alpine just up ahead. Perez all over the back of Tsunoda. I can't imagine that'll take too long for Perez to get past Tsunoda at this point. And Verstappen has caught up to us as well after having that incident earlier. Tsunoda and Perez going at it. Perez gets past and Verstappen gets past us as well. Not much we can do. We tried to do a switch back there, but Verstappen just has more grip, a better car, and probably is a better driver, let's face it, at this point in the race. Verstappen's going to be all over the back of Tsunoda in no time as well. And on lap 9, you can see they're going side by side into turn 1. It looks like a bit of switching of direction there for Verstappen, going around the outside instead, and they've come together. Verstappen spun out, and that's put us back up into P12. I really can't imagine Helmut Marko would be too impressed with Tsunoda there. Lance Stroll is out of the race. We have a safety car exactly at the time we needed it. I did say we were hoping for one, and the racing gods have provided us.
Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
I think I'm going to go with the hard tire, try to make it as far as I can. If there's not another safety car at a decent timing for us, then we'll probably try to go to the end of the race if possible. That way we skip having to do another pit stop. Manual turn in for this pit, of course. We nail it, get 2.3 to 2.7, and it lands at 2.7, but we get held by Tsunoda exiting his pit box, so we don't get an unsafe release. He's turned into a ghost there, not entirely sure why, but nonetheless, let's not focus too much on the AI. It's only a preview build. Coming out of the pits, it's actually pretty low grip because the tire temperatures are so low when you exit the pits, and when you start the formation lap 2 for that matter. You'll see in the bottom right corner, I'm so underfueled for this race, and that's because I was predicting a couple of safety cars at least, and if we didn't get the safety cars, we wouldn't be able to save the correct amount of fuel to make it to the end of this race. You can see the front of Tsunoda's car on the left hand side. There's a little bit of front wing damage. We tried to do a bit of a sneaky and pull alongside him for the final corner, but he just took off, got way better traction on the exit, and we didn't time it right. And it actually left us a bit vulnerable to our teammate Albon, who's sending it up the inside. We leave him plenty of room, and he still spins on us. So I really didn't want to take out our own teammate, but he's just gone way too deep into that corner. I left him as much space as possible, and he still crashed into us. And we got brake tested by Bottas, who's held up Tsunoda, and at least we didn't get front wing damage from that. That could have easily been front wing damage. Trying to go around the outside of Tsunoda, but these guys, they just get such a good exit coming out of that hairpin up the hill. I don't know if they just deploy all their ERS at that one time. Bottas makes a mistake, easy position up to P13, but that's held us up so much. You can see there's a massive gap between Tsunoda and Perez now, so that's going to be a lot of effort to try and close that up yet again, maybe hoping for another safety car just to close that gap up. Verstappen once again making the move on us. No point in fighting it too hard after he's making his way up the field from being spun out by Tsunoda, and try to position the car for a switchback if the opportunity ever came, but Verstappen was well and truly ahead at that point. With all these incidents going on, I might point out we're on standard damage. It's not simulation, but it's not reduced either. It's on standard, and it looks like we have a safety car lap 14, and it doesn't really play into our hands that much because we do not have another set of hard tires to go onto for the end of the race. I think maybe a set of mediums would be appropriate to go to the end of the race on, but I could see a bunch of people entering the pits right now, such as Verstappen, and I think one of the Ferraris, maybe two of them even. Yeah, both of the Ferraris are in the pits as well. And they could go into the mediums, but they're probably going to go into the hards, and I can see Leclerc has gone onto the hards as well. That's bumped us up to P7. And we're going to try and do the sneaky on Tsunoda. I think they've changed the rules in F1 actually, where you're not allowed to pull alongside another driver during the safety car phase. But we're going to try and, you know, be an opportunist here. Tsunoda still gets a good exit and leaves us in the dust, so it didn't really work out for us in the end. I've done a few other races where it has worked for me, and you get a good momentum and it's an opportunity to overtake the car in front of you straight after the safety car. Bottas is kind of in the way here, and he's held us up a lot, especially to Tsunoda, and the gap in front of Tsunoda as well. Really not ideal what Bottas just did there. Didn't really get it out of the way as I would have liked. So the situation right now, we're doing all right. It's lap 17, now lap 20, sorry, I've cut ahead. And as you can see, we're going up from P7 after a few people have pit now, and that's put us up into P4. And you'll notice that the cars in front of us also have to make another pit stop because they are on the mediums and they would not make it to the end of the race from when they last pit. Albon's in the pit as well as our teammate. Our tires are already on, what, 28% wear? So it's fair to say that heading towards the end of the race with another 10 laps to go, it's not going to look too pretty for us in the tire wear department. And Science being the most terrifying thing at the moment. He's only a 10th behind us and it's lap 23. He's already going to make the move into turn 1. We try to go for a switchback, seeing as he went deep going into turn 2. But yeah, not much we could have done in that respect. And now Verstappen, because of the beef with Science, he's trying to get involved here. And we managed to hold him off for now, but Verstappen's going to be so much quicker than us on fresher tires. Verstappen takes a look up the inside there. It's not really an overtaking opportunity, and if you don't go for it, you lose so much time. And he even lost a position to Vettel, and I don't mind that at all, even though he's quickly gotten past Vettel yet again. That's going to put him all over the back of us. And Sainz isn't really getting that far ahead of us. He's on fresher tires, and he has the performance of the Ferrari, and he's just not really getting that far ahead. And considering I'm defending from Verstappen yet again, he's going to try and go around the outside of the chicane. Not really a great place to overtake, and he wasn't alongside us enough to force the issue there. Lap 24, we don't have that much longer to go. Verstappen's still hassling the back of us, so I thought, you know what, let's just hope for the best. Maybe Sainz has an issue, maybe he spins out, and if we can hold Verstappen back, who's been overtaken yet again by Vettel. And I'd much rather deal with Vettel, who's in the Aston Martin, who has comparable pace to us. And I've made a mistake. I've gone onto the yellow curbs. Very poor exit. Vettel has quickly swooped past us, and he's actually locked up the brakes. We've gone up the inside of the chicane and took that place straight back from him. Norris is overtaking Verstappen. That's putting Verstappen all the way back down to 5th. Verstappen makes the move back on Norris. That puts him back up to 4th. As far away as Verstappen can get from us, the better, because he's the main threat to the race for us. Apart from Sainz, of course, is streaking away up to 6 seconds gap now. And I'm just going to have to accept that P2 might be the best position we can come away from in this race. Our pace really wasn't that much slower than Sainz. It's just mostly because of the battling that's held us back so much. And Verstappen's catching up to us at a right rate of knots yet again. Lap 28, not many laps to go now. Verstappen's only a 10th behind. He's got way better straight line speed than us because of the compensation of aero. We're running a lot more drag. And he sends it up the inside. He goes way too deep, runs off the track, comes back on the tracks and hits us in the right rear tire. Luckily, no damage for us. And I honestly think that was his fault. You guys can let me know what you think in the comment section below. But here's a replay of what happened. He has way more speed, not only with less drag, but DRS open as well. Sends it up the inside. He cuts the first curb, and that sends him wide for the second corner. Comes back onto the track, and it hits us in the right rear. In my opinion, that's kind of an unsafe rejoin on the track because he did go over the white lines, and I have no idea what his AI is doing. Let's just ignore that one. I think that's Schumacher, who's retired from the race now. We've only got this lap and the next lap to go, and I think we're in a pretty comfortable position now. Magnussen is behind us. George Russell's out of the race. They're all dropping like flies. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the final lap of the race, and we are in P2, the GOAT Latifi in the Williams, one of the best performing cars of all history. Let's be real here. And only Sainz looks like he's going to finish ahead of us in the Ferrari, but we all know that Latifi is the best of all time. It's actually looked like it started raining to add even more drama to all of this. You can see the raindrops on the halo. What a shame the rain didn't come earlier, so we could have capitalized on it, maybe even gotten Sainz in the end with a cheeky no pit stop strategy to the end of the race. Schumacher's car still on the grass there, so the marshals haven't cleared that up just yet. But yeah, what a race this was, coming from last place, 110% AI, and this was very difficult. I had a fair few attempts at this. This was not just my first attempt, of course. The AI is super aggressive, so it's hard to get through a race clean and unscathed as much as this one, even though there was a lot of contact with the AI in front of us and Verstappen crashing into us as well. Looks like 17 drivers are going to finish the race. Carlos Sainz takes the checkered flag as we come across the final corner to complete this race in P2 with what is the worst performing car on the grid. Very happy with that result. What's more surprising is Magnussen finishing in P3, and I think it was like Vettel behind him and McLaren, so I have no idea how the AI managed to pull that one off ahead of the other Ferraris and Red Bulls and Mercedes. I know George Russell DNF'd there as well, but yeah, what a crazy race that was. Lots of action in the first couple of corners as well. Magnussen and Vettel comes in at P3 and P4. Cars are harder to drive with the traction this year, so happy with that result, and I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in a brand new video.